out for the waves as well. Let's go back to the radar if we can. We'll show more of what's going on across the Big Bend in South Georgia as we have more of the heavier rainfall now pushing over parts of Franklin County and approaching parts of Wakulla County, close to Crawfordville, also close to parts of southern Jefferson County and moving into Taylor County as well. Again, this is just the start of the weather beginning to go downhill through the rest of this evening and to go into tonight. This is a marathon, not a sprint. More impacts on the way to go into late Thursday, also early on Friday. In terms of the rainfall, again, that is another key story that we are watching out for. These numbers are on top of the numbers that we had yesterday, also earlier this morning. So we could still see an additional 3 to 8 inches of rain across our region, possibly locally higher amounts close to the coast. And that is why we have a flood watch in place for the entire region, a level 4 out of 4 high risk of excessive rainfall for the entire region from the Weather Prediction Center, all thanks to Hurricane Helene. We also have a hurricane warning in place for all the counties in this red color. For Jackson County and for Calhoun County, that is a tropical storm warning thanks to the track shifting a little bit to the east with the brand new advisory as of 5 o'clock. But even there, we are anticipating tropical storm conditions later on Thursday and early on Friday. In terms of the wind right now, it's manageable. Most of us gusting to 15, 20, up to 25 miles per hour for coastal Franklin County. But again, the wind is on the way by late Thursday and early on Friday, as we are expecting widespread tropical storm conditions, and especially close to the center, we could see wind up to 75, 100, possibly more than 100 miles per hour, mainly close to the center and close to the coast by late Thursday. Also close to the coast, storm surge. A storm surge warning in place for Taylor County, pushing into Jefferson, Wakulla, and into coastal Franklin County at this hour. Now again, we talked about this earlier. These numbers can be scary, and this doesn't mean that every location from Steinhatchee to near Carabel will see 15 to 20 feet of storm surge, but in the worst case scenario, a few spots along the coastline could see storm surge above 15 to 20 feet. That's why this storm surge has been called unsurvivable. That's why those mandatory evacuations were issued for those coastal areas and even for coastal Franklin County from Apalachicola to Carabel Beach. 10 to 15 feet of storm surge above normally high ground. So again, those impacts, we're tracking multiple different threats: heavy rain, strong winds, storm surge close to the coast, and the potential for a few of those spin-up tornadoes. Again, widespread power outages, those are likely, but we are tracking some better weather by Friday. So again, just hunker down if you did not evacuate and keep it tuned to WCTV for the latest on the weather and the news. Julie, Jacob, back to you.
All right, Cam, thank you so much. It's we're about 20 minutes away from 6 o'clock, so every hour now at this point we're getting at least a small update from the National Hurricane Center, as he said. So we'll get more information as it inches closer to us.
Right.
But right beyond 6 o'clock then is sunset, and by the time the sun rises tomorrow morning, things could look a lot different in a lot of our communities in our area.
Right, and meteorologists, have been talking a lot about this track and this cone. Just remember, little changes can mean big changes in your neighborhood. So keep it right here on WCTV. Download our app. We have a lot of options to continue watching should you lose power at your home, and we want to be sure you have the most accurate information to keep you safe.
All right, we have Kevin Peters on the phone. He is Leon County's Emergency Management Director. A very busy day for him, and the last few days have been busy as well for Kevin.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much for stepping out to talk with us for just a moment. You there in the Emergency Operations Center, you have all kinds of cameras, you have all kinds of resources, all kinds of reports. What has stood out to you so far about the way this storm is rolling in?
Yeah, so we've been tracking this for well over a week here at the Emergency Operations Center, much like your folks that provide the updates on the regular newscast. We've been monitoring the development, watching this day over day, and just as we've moved through the week, we brought the teams together, we provided additional information, and now all of the work we've done, we're just hours from the impacts and starting the major response.
And, the cone keeps wobbling a little bit to the east. I know our meteorologists are emphasizing for folks in Leon County that doesn't mean anything should be changed about the expectations of what we could see. I assume that goes for your office as well. Nothing's changed in terms of how you're planning to prepare for the storm and ride it out.
No, absolutely. This is a very broad storm. The watches and warnings, the extent across the Panhandle and even into the peninsula is so wide. We know that we got to approach this from the broad aspect. So focusing on the center of the track and the cone, the little wiggles, those don't change the overall magnitude. Category 3 major hurricane. A lot of storm surge at the coast for our coastal partners in the Coastal County Emergency Management Agency. So this is a big storm. It's going to have big impacts.
And let's talk a little bit about that. There's concern, of course, about Tallahassee's beautiful tree canopy and plenty of trees coming down. Only with the potential to do damage to homes or cars, certainly, and the potential to bring down power lines as well, in addition to the concerns about some potential flooding, given all the rain that we've had so far and more to come. Have you had any reports yet of trees down, of roads flooded, anything yet that you've seen?
No, I guess that's the benefit of the time that we've had today. Very, very minimal impacts to date. We have had the rain all day, but it has allowed our community to take those, given the time for people to take those steps that they needed to complete their preparedness actions, whether that was coming to shelter, whether that was preparing their home to shelter in place. We've seen everybody have the adequate time to do the things they needed to do today.
And Kevin, we've talked with a lot of our coastal communities. When the winds reach a certain speed, those emergency responders are no longer able to be on the roads. That's obviously true as well for Leon County. Any messages you can pass along from the Sheriff's Office or anyone else about what our viewers can expect during the worst of the storm?
Yeah, certainly for the safety of our first responders, there will become a time when the winds are at a certain height that it's not safe to respond. But I want everybody to know, rest assured, that if you have to call 911, that our 911 call takers with Consolidated Dispatch Agency will just as with any 911 call any time of the year, they're going to give all of that appropriate first aid information to help people stabilize whatever the situation is in their home or wherever they're at. Until the winds can get to a point where responders can get to people, they will get the support and the first aid advice from our 911 call takers that they will need.
And Kevin, we just want to say thank you. You guys have been so proactive about sending out alerts and information to the public. And as we move into this overnight hours and then tomorrow morning, as we're trying to clear roads and make sure everybody is safe to move about, we look forward to more of your updates and we appreciate it.
All right, Kevin Peters for us there. Going to keep an eye on his activity and we'll check in with him as the storm moves through our area. We want to turn it over to Ava Van Valen now. We've been tracking all our messages from our first responders and our sheriff's offices over the last few hours. One post from Taylor County's emergency management team stuck out for us, though. Ava, can you explain?
I certainly can. The Taylor County Sheriff's Office Division of Emergency Management, they're not mincing words tonight because of the severity of this hurricane. Now, they are urging everyone to refrain from returning to the area unless officially directed by the Emergency Operations Center. Now, they're also saying if you or someone that you know choose not to evacuate, they're asking you to please write your name, birthday, and important information on your arm or leg in a permanent marker so that you can be identified and your family notified. And they're also asking you to email this information, your residence, your address, your name, etc., so that search and rescue teams can prioritize your location.
Okay, Ava, thanks so much. A grim warning, but something that could help in the recovery effort down the line. We appreciate it.
Let's go ahead now. Governor Ron DeSantis is at the State Emergency Operations Center here in Tallahassee and just began a new update. So let's join right now.
This storm will strengthen as it prepares to make landfall later this evening. Initial estimates when we woke up this morning were that it would probably make landfall sometime in the earlier side of the evening. Now it looks like it'll be closer to 11 p.m. It is starting to move quickly, but for people that are particularly, if you're looking at where this is now expected to make landfall, the models have continued to move it a little bit east. I think you're looking at anywhere from that Wakulla-Jefferson County line over to Taylor County. Most of the data we have does have a Taylor County landfall, but all those areas there along the Big Bend coast and in areas that are low-lying, that are susceptible to potentially major storm surge, you're under an evacuation order. Some people have. Because the storm isn't going to get here till a little later, we're going to see some effects soon. But right now, you actually still have time to be able to evacuate. I mean, you can go to Leon County and go to a shelter. You can get to a place that is going to be on higher ground and is not going to be susceptible to storm surge. The winds are going to be significant, but most structures in Florida are going to be able to handle the winds that will be there if you're interior and at a place that is either a shelter or a residence that's built for that. So you still have time to do that now. We thought the storm was going to get here a little bit earlier based on the estimates. It's going to get here a little bit later. So in these Big Bend areas, you still have time. Now, in other parts of Florida, listen to your emergency managers. I know Pinellas County said last call they were going to shut the bridges down to the barrier islands, I believe at 6 o'clock. So people have either heeded that or not. The bridges in the Tampa Bay area, Gandy is about to close. Howard Franklin, Courtney Campbell have been closed. And of course, Sunshine Skyway had been closed earlier. So the time in that part of the state is coming to an end. But if you're here in North Florida, if you're in one of those areas, you see the potential for the storm surge, you still have time to do it. So we would encourage you to heed those evacuation orders as appropriate in your local area. You're going to lose power, so you still have time. If you have power, make sure your phones are charged. Make sure you have what you need to be able to get through a period of time where you're going to have an interruption in power. If you're sheltering in place in one of those evacuation zones, make sure you let people know that you're doing that. Whether it's a friend, a family member. I know some of the counties say you can check in with them and give them that information if you're comfortable doing that. But please do that if you've decided to hunker down. Once we start to get the real nasty conditions, don't at that point go on the roadways. That is very hazardous. That does produce fatalities when people do that in the middle of the storm. If you are sheltering at home, be cognizant of what trees are around you. You have 125 mile an hour maximum sustained right now. Probably is going to be higher. Whether it hits as a Category 4 or Category 3, it's going to be a significant storm. And even as it moves inland throughout northern Florida, you are going to see trees that are going to be falling down. That's just the reality of what we're doing, of what we're seeing here. And if you hear the tree limbs snapping around you, sometimes it almost sounds like fireworks are going off. Treat that as a tornado. Shelter in a part of the home that would be where you'd have protection from that. And this is the type of thing where, especially as that eye wall moves through, you're going to have some serious storms. And there also may be tornadoes that will be spun off from this as well, and that could be producing some of these reactions. If you have really severe weather, and then all of a sudden it gets very calm, that probably means you're in the eye of the storm. So don't go out into that. That eye wall will collapse quickly and unexpectedly, and you will get very bad weather very quickly as well. There's going to be power lines that are going to be down. Be careful about that, particularly in the streets, particularly near your residence. Do not mess with down power lines. Those can be very, very hazardous. The storm is going to hit Florida's Big Bend region sometime this evening, likely around 11 o'clock. It's going to be dark. Don't go out as soon as that storm passes if it's still dark and try to do work around your house or worry about things. Let it get light. There's going to be hazards there. It's just not something you want to be navigating in the dark. When we get into tomorrow, you may have some things on your roof. Just be careful with using ladders. There's going to be groups that are going to be helping people fix their homes in the appropriate areas. So if you're somebody that you may have some physical limitations, don't put your health at risk for that. Watch the standing water. We've already seen a lot of standing water in different parts of the state already. We're likely to see more of that. You never know what's in the standing water. When you have streets that are flooded, don't try to drive through the flooded streets. You are going to end up having your car stall out, and then you're going to be stuck, not to mention the hazards of just being on the roads in those circumstances with having accidents. We've been working here at the state, really starting the weekend. Clearly, we did a state of emergency at the beginning of the week. We have 1,100 missions in progress through the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Those continue to be filled, and they will continue to be filled until they're all done. Many of those are more for post-storm resources rather than pre-landfall resources. We do have the linemen staged throughout the state. You have Duke, TECO, FPL. We have the co-ops, we have the municipals. I think everybody's on the same page. As soon as this storm passes, there needs to be a strong effort to get the power restored, and they will be working to do that. And they've done a great job on this in recent years, and I think we've really set the standard here in the state of Florida. We have 130 generators that are at various gas stations. So when they lose power, most of the newer gas stations or the larger stations have generators per Florida law or have an ability to get the power back on. Some of the smaller ones don't, and when you're talking about the Big Bend region, that can be significant. So those generators have been distributed, and we should not see major interruptions in fuel given that. We have all state agencies that are on standby, 3,500 National Guard soldiers. We can surge that very quickly if we need more. Florida Highway Patrol has 200 state troopers that are on standby. They will go and be dispatched immediately following the storm to areas that need help. Florida Department of Transportation standing by. 307 cut and toss crews to get the roads cleared, 120 bridge inspectors to get the bridges back open, almost 700 generators, big 200 plus pieces of large equipment, and then the large pumps, which they have used not just in hurricanes, but in some of the rainstorms we've had where you've seen flooding in recent months. FDOT has used that, and it's been very effective. We have done a fuel mission, even though we've sent the generators to the stations. We haven't necessarily seen fuel shortage, but you do have ports that are closed. So we have almost 500,000 gallons of diesel in reserve that are being brought into the state, 132,000 gallons of regular motor vehicle gas, 36,000 gallons of propane, and 5,000 gallons of jet fuel. So you're close to almost 700,000 gallons between everything we have across the variety of fuel needs. And we don't anticipate having to use all or even most of that, but we want to make sure that people have the fuel that they need, particularly as the storm passes. So if you're in one of these areas in the northern part of the state, particularly on the coast and those low-lying areas that will face the brunt of the storm surge, you still have time, but you got to do it right now. Every minute that goes by, you're going to start to see conditions worsen. You know, I was out, you look this afternoon in Tallahassee, wasn't that bad. It's going to get a lot worse in northern Florida as that storm gets closer. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved in the prep. We've got the assets that are there. People just need to make sure they're making decisions that have themselves and their families' safety in mind. We can't control how strong this hurricane's going to get. We can't control the track of the hurricane. But what you can control is what you can do to put yourself in the best chance to be able to ride this out in a way that's going to be safe. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor, again for your unwavering support and commitment to the safety and well-being of Floridians. We really appreciate it. As the Governor said, we continue to work on more than 1,100 missions, and we continue to fill those. Again, as he said, most of them at this point are going to be post-impact resources that are ready to move into the area immediately. Life-threatening storm surge is expected along Florida's West Gulf Coast and Big Bend. Floodwaters are hard to navigate during the day, but even harder to see at night. At this point, it is the last hours to safely evacuate ahead of Hurricane Helene from the Gulf Coast and Big Bend. If you have not already left, you're probably going to need to start looking at sheltering in place. Stay inside, stay safe, stay put. Do not attempt to leave your home or drive during the storm. The governor has mentioned this. It's going to be dark outside. When it starts to make landfall, the street lights, the minimal street lights that we do have in the Big Bend area are going to go out. It is going to be very dark. So please do not drive, do not go out, wait to daylight, and then only drive if you need to. As you heard the governor say, if you hear the tree snapping, it's probably, treat it like a tornado. You're in imminent danger of potentially a tree falling on your house, so please make sure you're moving away from the windows and doors and getting to a central point of your home. Protect yourself from the flying debris. Put heavy coats, pillows, blankets, any type of material that you can put there on top of yourself. Make sure you're doing that. That'll help for lacerations again. And again, just do the best you can with what you have right there in your home. Stay put until the storm passes. The governor's already talked about if literally like a light switch. If you've got really, really severe weather and all of a sudden it is completely like nothing ever happened, you're 99% sure you're in the eye wall of the hurricane, so do not go outside. Make sure you stay put. We are anticipating the power outages with the storm. Take time now while you actually have power to top off all of your battery chargers. Make sure you just leave them completely plugged in, ready to go until that power goes out so you get maximum use out of it. Backup generators are going to start becoming more and more of an issue, so please, we have done a really good job of reducing the number of carbon monoxide poisoning fatalities after storms. We want to have 0 in this disaster, so keep those generators 20 feet away from outside your home from any open doors or windows. Make sure you let it cool down for 20 minutes before you refuel it. And when you can safely do so and get back to an open store, go ahead and spend $20 and get yourself a carbon monoxide monitor in your home. After the storm has passed your area, it is critical that you listen to local authorities for guidance on when it is safe to go outside and return home. Do not venture out. Hazardous materials, debris, and flooding could still be present along with down power lines. If you see dangerous conditions, please call 911 and report them to your local authorities. Residents needing resources after Hurricane Helene can call our State Assistance Information Line at 1-800-342-3557. That's 1-800-342-3557. We again have individuals speaking English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole available to answer any and all of your questions. Please be sure that you follow the agency.